Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, I want to talk about the fraud of free energy and everything else in this society, unfortunately. As I always state, we're living in this urban legend. First of all, there's nothing to research. There's nothing to find out. We have solved all of our problems. How far we can go after using the technology that's sitting right in front of us that will cost us nothing except implementation costs is shocking. We continue to have infiltrators, liars, cheats, and disinformation, and plain and simple paid CIA disinformation agents. And these are fraught. Almost everyone in the alternative science industry, and alternative energy in particular, I allege, are basic agents. And I've pointed this out before. They are working to make sure these industries never happen. We've had working, quote, zero-point energy probably for 50 years of many different models. This was demonstrated in Los Angeles by Bill Jenkins in several occasions where they had working machines. His work and everyone else, he eventually retired, and really nothing happened. Yet he claimed to have seen and were working many different healing devices, etc. And as usual, these get pushed under the rug. And he was unable really to do anything. Apparently, he made enough money to retire in Palm Springs, and we never heard from him again. Of course, he's passed away now. But we have a lot of disinformation agents, and I allege people like Peter Linderman, who now is working with the Satanist E.A. Koenig, and seems to have no problem with that. He's pushing all his little booklets of all these different types of devices that, well, where are they? There's many other people out there as well saying we have this, we have that. We don't need zero-point complicated trillion-dollar research systems and building an entire new infrastructure. One thing that Elon Musk talked about, and the reason why he claims he got into the primitive, stupid technology of battery-powered devices, was the fact that the infrastructure was already there, meaning you can plug these in and charge your car up anywhere. Well, that's valid to a degree. Now, it's also valid that if you have something that is better, you build infrastructure. Yes, we do have gas stations everywhere, and those could be turned into hydrogen stations. So the infrastructure is there, and it's not really difficult to put together. But he, of course, being controlled Illuminati, pushed ahead, the kind of very bizarre weirdo that he is, and certainly has connections to all the bigger people. His brother was a banker and is married to an Illuminati Texan, I allege. Do your research and don't think the guy in front is the guy running the show. You know, it's a big Wizard of Oz game. Who's behind the curtain? So all of this is a fraud. We do not need to research anything. We have everything, including anti-gravity, which I've personally seen 500 feet from myself with witnesses. So if we continue to fall into these traps by these little goobahs out there that want to come out with their little tinker toy projects that never seem to manifest, we will get nowhere. We have the cures for everything. We have free energy. It's called hydrogen. It can be used with any internal combustion engine in production today and has ever been produced. Does everyone get that? So the solutions are sitting in front of you, and these fools come in and say, well, I got something over here. Let's work on this. Well, no, I don't want to work on this. I have this here. It is practical. It's cheap. It works. It can be done anywhere. And without retooling everything or coming up with your science that you claim work. But I was very heavily involved in all this alternative science, particularly in the 90s, and was selling large amounts of information that I collected on this. And this is all part of this alternative science, radionic energies in general. And this was very big in the 90s. And I was selling close to $50,000 a month in these types of products back then. So, and that was when it was high. There was a Tesla Society. They went broke conveniently. They all go broke. They all got infiltrators that make sure they throw a monkey wrench into the engine, so to speak. It always works like that. You got these dreamers. I had minor contact with Linderman and his despicable sister, and found them to be very low-level people that didn't want to do anything. I tried to get him organized and tried to get him working together, and he didn't care. He saw me, as most people do, as a go-getter and a person who can't be corrupted, and never heard from him again. His sister tried to steal technology from me, trying to get ways of how I made things so she could then bring it to him so he could make his junk. Now, I got some of his tools in the past, his scalar machines, etc., and they did absolutely nothing. And everything he's ever put together, he sold for a high price without really anything backing it, and even no science. So I used his scalar clearing devices for years. It did nothing. So we have to be careful here. We have to understand whom these people are. He goes to all the events and everything else, and as I said, I allege he's a disinformation agent. But the reason why I'm picking him out is not only had some contact with him, he's been heavily into the field for years and has produced nothing. He's recently retired doing the damage that he's done to the entire industry, and again, nobody produces anything. I mean, how difficult is it if you have a technology to make a working product? He was involved with many other people who had products, and some of these even died suddenly, and he was shocked at it. Was he shocked at it, or did he know it was coming? But they didn't do anything either. None of them have done a single thing. And we go back to working models in the 80s, 40 years ago, that were working, and the science has not changed one iota, and there is nothing to show for it. We have to start focusing on what we have, what works, that's sitting right in front of us. The entire stupidity of having workable, proven healing methods and actual technologies that work 100%, that are 100% proven, that we have right now, and we have every single manufacturer of automobiles in the world has a hydrogen car. I saw a hydrogen car at JPL Laboratories in 1968. There's also, which ties into this, is called fuel cells. Well, they're hydrogen fuel cells. Now, where I used to live in the Coachella Valley, the most corrupt valley in the most corrupt area, probably maybe in the world, where all the gangs have moved to and the police work with them because they were thrown out of other places. That's another story. But there they had an entire bus system. Now, I'm not sure how this happened, but somebody worked out the fact of figuring out how to produce this area, that the entire valley there, known as the Coachella Valley, or commonly thought of as Palm Springs area, which is only one town in a bigger valley. Somehow, and this was going back into the 80s, the early 80s, where they developed fuel cell buses. And they're not only are they very quiet, but you pull up behind these buses and you're not killed with a whole bunch of toxic emissions that come from it. So they had these buses, and you can go there and look at the technology. It's open, and it's ignored again. The entire bus system works on hydrogen fuel cells, which are 100% proven, 100% work. There's very little downtime, and the cost of running these things is negligible. It's there. It's been there for 30 years plus. Okay. Well, yeah, but what about free energy? I got a device where you stick a rock together with a magnet and you spit on it, and then you pee on it, and then what happens is that you get this free energy. It's just I need $1 trillion to make it work. I mean, this kind of insanity we need to get past. We don't need research. We don't need the Cancer Society. We don't need the Heart Association. We don't need the Diabetic Association. We have cures for all these things right now. And to give money to these virtual criminal organizations to produce nothing over huge amounts of time is the ultimate idiocy. So people need to stop looking, and they need to start confronting this. And apparently this is a real mental block for people. You understand we have cures for everything. They're sitting there. They have been proven to be cures, and these go for 10, 20 years now. Stem cells are not unique. They work in everything. So are so many other treatments, medications, and everything else that are suppressed. They all work, and we just, but we need another $1 trillion to find something new. Why? We already have stuff that works. There is not any new developments coming out. There isn't any new technologies. There are no new sciences. Fuel cells go back 150 years, as does hydrogen. Electric cars have been around over 150 years probably, but it's not a new technology. Batteries are not new. Maybe you heard of the Baghdad battery that the Sumerians had 4,000 years ago. Oh, yeah, battery technology. We got new ones. Elon Musk. Oh, yeah, we are going to make a perfect crap car. Maybe it'll explode on us too, yeah. And you can make sure that you have to plug it in and be a slave to the electrical companies. Oh, you're a genius. Let's get back to your flamethrower that you're making. What a genius. So the whole idea is that he's produced absolutely nothing but an extremely expensive electric car, and he's going to lose in the long run. Everybody's coming out with the big manufacturers, and the smart thing to do is let guys like him run ahead, make a lot of money, and then you move in as the big boy and produce something better and use the technologies that he's developed. I mean, this is basically what the entire country of Germany does. They don't go out. They're building a battery factory now because everyone knows that batteries is the future. They didn't do that 20 years ago. Now, develop the industry, get it going, and then we'll step in and we'll say how great we are. That's how a lot of business works, and that's the smart way to do it. There's certainly nothing that Musk has produced that is anything close to genius or breakthroughs. Yeah, we know you have these little technologies in your own little screwball batteries, but they don't really work that well. It's still battery garbage. So we can talk about this, and I guess he's not using lithium and other things, but it's not the answer. But it is the answer if you're basically a slave, a little slut of the petroleum companies. So we have all this sitting in front of us, and we need to stop going out and searching and talking to people and giving credit to all these little goofball people out there that claim they have something and they just need $1 trillion to develop it. Let's see some working models. Let's see these things, and let's put them in use. Let's build these. If you don't have the funds or stuff to do that, well, you shouldn't have been involved to begin with. And what has developed over the last 20 or 30 years is there's a huge group of people willing to buy these devices right now. Thousands. Yet there is none. Nothing has come out in the marketplace that anybody is using. There was the famous Swiss M device, I believe. It was the M or L device that has been running supposedly a Swiss town for 60 years now. And, of course, they never shared anything, but basically it's probably just a fuel cell, which is a simple technology that's super effective. There are entire companies running on fuel cells. You see these things pop up and you see little specials and they talk about it, but it doesn't seem to get to the public because they don't want the public to start using this because, Edison, those robber barons want to steal hundreds of dollars a month from you, which is a real problem around the world. The cost of electricity is eating into everybody's spendable income, and this is a total waste of money. If the money we spent on energy, fuel, gasoline was put into the economy, we would have an unbelievable boom. And it would improve the quality of life and the environment. This is not happening when we have it sitting in front of us. They want to, and they support and give millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to these people to keep them going, so that they can keep you in the illusion. So the people who are saying, well, we need alternative energy are stuck in this 0-point garbage when we have sitting right in front of us the answer. We don't need any medical research. We've cured everything. When are we going to start preaching that? We don't need free energy. We have it. And we have it by the boatload. Not to mention the entire planet is energy. From geothermal, which you just drill down into the ground that can run turbines, to the air that runs turbines. Because it's all turbine energy. All you do is wind energy is that it pushes a turbine that then creates electricity. Now, this goes into the actual system, which cannot be saved. But these are another things that have to be worked on as well. But the problem with storing energy, well, you don't have to do that with hydrogen. You turn it off when you don't need it. All of this, we have it, it's sitting in front of you. So the stupidest thing that anybody can say is that, oh, this is coming out. We need this energy. This is all a entire, complete disinformation campaign, which is very typical in what happens from all of these paid disinformation agents who have achieved absolutely nothing. These people are despicable. And they are out there misleading the entire public. People think that. But the whole idea is, well, we need free energy. And you say, we have it. Well, no, we need free energy. No, we have it. Oh, no, we need this and we need to develop that. I have a new machine. We have it. And they just can't comprehend this. People can't comprehend that sitting right in front of you are all the solutions. All the main problems that mankind have, we've had the solution, and we've had it probably for over 150 to 200 years. Nothing is new. Now, the Romans didn't have electrical factories. They used water power, and they turned stuff with wheels water-driven. Well, this is very primitive, but very effective, and they ran giant factories and mills this way to feed millions of people. Not a drop of energy was used. So it's all there sitting in front of you, and this is how you have to. This is what you have to do to reshape your mind. This is a giant wall that everybody is running into at like 100 miles an hour, to this wall that stops you. It just knocks you down and makes you stupid. So we have to get through that. This is part of thinking as a person of gnosis, a person of wisdom. Doesn't think, oh, I know all this stuff because it's advanced. No. You know the truth. The truth is sitting here right now can be developed instantly, and there's no development needed in terms of figuring out how it works, because everybody's got cars that are already working on this. They're using regular internal combustion engines. This can be used to power your home, to power villages, to pump water, to do anything you want, 100% free. Now, that's a pretty horrible word. Free. The robber barons, the fraudulent, fake, so-called capitalists, which are nothing more than slave drivers, because capitalism was supposed to be the best person with the best product at the best price would win. Well, you really going to give up that if you're a rich person? No, you're going to stomp on new inventions. So that whole system is bogus and doesn't work. And never will, because it's based on nothing more than greed with no morality about it. It's amazing how Americans think they're so church-going and want to spend all their time in church and work for evil corporations and for criminals to support all the things that don't work. And they're basically supporting Satan while they hide behind their fake Bibles and beliefs. So it's all there. Don't get tricked by this. There is no money needed for cancer research. There is no money needed for free energy. All of this has been solved. And once you solve this, you then jump up into other things, like radically increasing the lifespan when you're well. People are living close to 90 now, but they're not very well. And very few people live over 91, 92. So it means that they're sick and they're going to go down anytime. So 90 is not much of an improvement over the typical 86 that most people live to anyway. We don't need that. But those are the type of things we can start challenging. We can start challenging how to keep people well, how to clean up this planet that we pooed upon like psychotic maniacs, and start doing things of higher and better work. And maybe, and this is what scares the evil people and viruses that seem to plague the society, the Wendigo energy that seems to rule everything on this planet from birth to death, is the fact that we can start growing as spiritual people and developing ourselves to higher consciousness instead of wanting to buy the latest handbag, the more fancier car, while people are living on the streets by the hundreds of thousands. We can solve all of our problems. This frightens the controllers who want to keep you as a slave. They want to keep you dumb and ignorant. These institutions who are producing nothing but failure need to be eliminated. We need to not give them a penny. They've done nothing. You support failure, and what do you get? Oh, thanks for your failing for 30 years. Here's more money. Keep up the good work. This is what we're doing with every single phase of this reality. And we need to sit down and say, look, we have the answers. Why aren't these happening? Whoa, we don't need more research. Whoa, we don't have the money to we don't have to retool. You know, what kind of ignorant, buffoonish moron are you that you're not using technology to free the people of this planet so they can grow into higher spiritual beings and take care of all their important needs? On top of that, it's going to make a lot of people very wealthy. But apparently, you know, the wealthy don't want you to be wealthy. They want to be wealthy and use you as a slave. This is the problem. You know, we support slave societies. I mean, we talk about slavery and how terrible it all is. Well, what do you think China is? You think they're using laborers? They're using slaves. They even have prisoners in the military making products. So the whole idea is we've went from keeping the black man picking cotton as a slave and torturing them to switching that emphasis over to creating an entire slave economy, which is what any country that works for very low wages is. India, China, well, these are slave-based. They have the percentage of the population at poverty level in India, I believe, is 85% are at the poverty level that live in India, which has almost 1.5 billion people. Now, I don't know what the figures are in China. They like to build a lot of fancy buildings and other things, but there's an awful lot of slave mentality going on there, if not entirely. Very weird setup of a country that is. And of course, the entire world is this way. So the whole Western world is bringing in as many poor slaves as they can so they can ruin their own economies so the rich at the top get richer. So it's a universal problem. But the bottom line is that we have answers for everything. So don't be looking for it. Don't be reading articles on free energies and cures and all. We have it all. It's all there. People need to rise up and start screaming, let's use the technologies we have. We have this problem with the FDA right now. They will not release any type of decent drugs that work. Even if they've been drugs that have been used for 50, 60 years, like ivermectin. This is an effective tool that should be used. They don't have anything else. Why wouldn't we use that? But all this is swept under the carpet. And what they did is they took that drug and they made a copy of it with a little variations and now sell it for $750 for a dosage of it, or at least a amount of dosage, a treatment dosage. This is what happens when you allow this. We have cures. We have it all. Why aren't stem cells legal? They're legal in other places. As I've mentioned before, there is... Mel Gibson took his dying father, who was in his late 60s, to Panama to get stem cells to cure what, I forget what the problem was. It worked like a miracle. The guy is 97 now. I guess it works, huh? He was on his deathbed. Well, you're not going to call for it. You give a dime to these bogus organizations like the Red Cross, the Cancer Society, all these, you are a fool. We have the answers. What we ought to do is tell the Red Cross or the Cancer Society, we have cures. I'll give you money to make sure that you start implementing and getting the cures going. Well, you won't get that. So you got to understand that. You got to understand how sick and stupid and brainwashed society is in general and what the power structures are. But you as a person should be thinking properly, developing your gnosis mind to say, look, it's right here. What's the problem? So it's like a guy hanging off the side of a cliff and you throw him a rope. Well, I don't like that rope. I want a rope that's special color, that's been researched 50 times. Okay, well, I guess we don't have that rope. You can just let go. Fall to the bottom, smash into bits. Maybe you're doing us a favor. Stupid people is what's plaguing this world. But the number one problem, of course, is corruption. But we support corruption. We give money to failure. I've talked about it. We continue to support failure, we'll get nowhere. We have a failed everything, failed government, failed military, failed police, failed medical. They have achieved nothing, yet they've had trillions of dollars to fill their pockets and achieved nothing. We can show the results from all of this with the medical industry. We have graveyards full of dead people and people suffering and losing everything they have at the last few days of their life to pay to medical robbers. What kind of evil is that? You want to see pure Wendigo, all you got to do is open the doors of a hospital somewhere. It's really sad. But the bottom line is that you have to understand the fact we have everything, let's implement it. This is how you have to change your thinking, dude. There's nothing to research. It's just like everything else. I know everything with manifestation. I know what tools work. I know everything that has to do with that. We have all the answers. All that you have to do is apply these technologies to your life, and it never really fails. Everybody improves. And of course, we're looking to hone our technology and always trying to make things more powerful that work faster and can be depended upon 100%. But we have things that work 100%, and we've decided just not to use them. And we ignore it because we're listening to the guy say, yeah, who cares if that works? Let's use this over here that we have to spend $1 trillion. What? How does that make any sense on whatsoever? So change your thinking, people. Start talking to other people like that. Start expressing that. Do not follow anybody and their gimmicks and lies. If someone comes up with a free energy device and you say, write to them and say, what about hydrogen? We don't need yours. We have that. Why don't you get into hydrogen and make that better?
I need $1 trillion. I need to spend this, I need to do research, and we don't know, maybe it blows up, maybe it's toxic, maybe it'll destroy the earth, but hey, it's 0-point energy.
So the whole idea is just complete and total nonsense. And a lot of these things, including the infamous Tesla, who had some great ideas and obviously was a genius, but he used to pump electricity into the ground, and farmers around him would then touch the ground and get electric shocks. Is that good for the earth to be pumping huge amounts of electricity through there? Certainly isn't. It's a dumb way of doing it. And it's really inefficient. So, there are other ways. Why didn't he develop the perfect hydrogen engine? Well, what's wrong with you, Tesla?
Well, it works. I'm not interested in it.
Huh? It's been highly refined. There's no tooling. I'm not interested. Okay. No, I want to make something from scratch. I want to spend all my life doing it. I want to make sure that everything is complicated. Probably I'm going to not figure it out. Like none of these guys do. I've been watching these alternative people for 60 years now in general. And as I said, I was heavily involved in the 90s and so forth, watching what these people were doing. That includes all the radionic people, all the free energy people, all the conspiracy people. And 40, 50 years later, a big, giant zero has been produced. Plain and simple. It's zero. None of these people have come up with anything. We hear about a whole bunch of technology from invisibility to other things. And you know something? They are real. And the science that we have in the public is probably 150 to 200 years behind the real science. The anti-gravity, the invisibility stuff, all the stuff that is kept from you. But there's implications to this. It's not just military applications, but there are civil applications, health applications, energy applications that are being ignored to support the scummiest people on the planet, which is anybody involved in the oil and petroleum industry. These are some of the lowest lives possible. So it's really, really sad. So it's there. It's sitting there. Let's use it. And people want to say, well, it isn't. It hasn't been defined. It's hard. Nonsense. All the problems with hydrogen have been solved. All the problems with stem cells have been figured out. It's all there. And don't believe people that want to talk negative. And if there are problems, well, let's refine those. We know it works. We don't know anything else works. And we don't need no special gas made from poo of dolphins or comes from intergalactic pipeline, a large extension cord coming from Pluto or the Pleiades. We don't need that. We have it right here. We have all our problems, our perfect solutions, and that's it. So what do we do with an evil, sick society that refuses to recognize this and use it? Well, ultimately, that's the biggest question. The question is I've given you solutions. I've given you answers for all your needs, and you won't use them. What does that mean? What is the bigger spiritual question here? And that is the biggest question. So it all boils down to this Wendigo energy, these parasites in your brain that tell you to do self-destructive things. Now, apparently, the youth and everybody's cutting themselves. They're all got they're sticking their skin to get tattoos every square inch, which is a type of sadomasochism. We don't know if even these inks are any good. They're sticking and making holes in themselves to put metal in it. What they're doing is bringing themselves away from a spiritual reality into the most perverse. And then this does nothing. Nobody is recognizing what all this does. So this parasite, virus, Wendigo energies have permeated this society to the point that it's just a suicidal mess of destruction. And it hasn't changed much in thousands of years. It wasn't any better 1,000 years ago, or 2,000, or 3. None of it was any better. And it seems like we're now heightened with the mass amount of communication that this energy flows like the toxic evil energy it is to destroy your life. Why do people do things? Why do people have thoughts that are self-destructive or to hurt others? It doesn't make any sense unless you are being programmed. And the worms in your brain are telling you to do this. And this is a fact. This isn't metaphysical. This isn't, that's your opinion. No, these are proven that there are parasitical entities that are filling your body, telling you to do every possible deviant act there is. Further, there's a virus and the general pushed on Wendigo energy, the evil energy, that has infected everyone. This is the bigger question. Seems to me we have to rid this energy so that people will take what's sitting in front of them. I'm starving to death. I'm not going to eat that food. What? If you don't eat the food, you're going to die. I don't want it. I want to make something else. I want to get this here. I want to spend months trying to find food. Here's food right in front of you. You're going to die. I don't care. Well, how do you deal with something like that? And that's exactly what the society is doing right now. And there's a bigger picture here. We've already taken a very evil entity called humans, the bizarre species that is unique to itself, by the way. Nobody came from apes. That's complete nonsense. But, of course, they want to tell you that. So the whole idea is that people refuse to use what's right in front of them, even to save their lives. Now, this is a level of psychotic activity that we have to deal with. This is the problem ultimately, because you can't talk to any people. Nobody cares. So we need to get out there and deal with that. Those are the bigger issues. These are the type of ways you need to start thinking. And if you talk to people, if anybody does, I'm not sure what people do, that's the kind of things you need to hit them with. And you can do this with all the theoretical physicists. I want to tell you how much they know. Neil Tyson deGrasse. Okay, yeah, we figured everything else. Why aren't we using hydrogen? Why aren't you on every street corner screaming to use hydrogen and stem cells? Where are you, Neil? Where are you? You want to talk about a bunch of garbage, a bunch of bookie knowledge that goes back 500 years to a guy who was an alchemist and a highly religious person with strange sexual habits, apparently, called Nudie, Mr. Nudie. But you don't want to deal with anything that really comes to us. So that's what every single person that you ever talk to, in authority, scientists, politicians, why are we not using hydrogen, which is proven and available now? Why are we not using stem cells, which have no danger to them whatsoever? I mean, this should be put on a record and just broadcast all over the world 24/7. Anytime you meet somebody, you should tell them that. So, the problem is people allow these pseudo-intellectual brainwash goofballs perpetrate their 150, 200-year philosophies on what the world works and how it all, to allow them in their very pseudo, I have got a paper that says I'm smart. Can I have that? Because I've just had a bowel movement and I need to clean. So the whole idea is that that's how all these things work. They are worthless. They are clones of failure. And that's why nothing ever works. So they have to be now. Where is it? We have it. Why aren't we using it? Why aren't you, as a scientist, why aren't you, Mr. Educated, Mr. Theoretical Physicist, why aren't you pushing this to save the planet? You can go back into your feeble, stupid understanding of the universe and wallow in your filth of stupidity all you want. But let's take care of these issues first. And you should be the proselytizer of this information. Instead of talking,
Pluto's not a planet. I knew this as a kid.
Oh, thanks for that bit of important information. I was really worried about that. It was affecting my life so much to figure out if Pluto was a planet or not, that I was pretty much suicidal. So I'm glad you figured that out, which basically has been proven to be wrong anyway. Pluto is a planet. Someone comes out and says different because they want a grandstand. It's not the case. And Tyson wasn't the first one to say that. He was just the bigger mouth. But you're not going to get him coming out for stem cells. You're not going to have him coming out for hydrogen. And why is that? And it goes with all these other pseudo-intellectuals out there perpetrating their 500-year nudie stuff that we don't really need. I mean, Newton was a genius and established some base parameters which are important. On the other hand, he's a total goofball. And not only that, he's a subtle energy physicist ultimately, which is amusing above all else, being an alchemist, which deals with subtle energies. So, and that's why the ancient technologies, often called magic, are so important, because you're taking these kind of energies. But that's another subject. But that's what the reality is up there. Everybody needs to do that. And anytime if you ever go anywhere, you go to anything, you go to any conferences, you go to any New Age seminars, you listen to somebody speak, you go to your local college, university, dumbademia, special events, make sure you stand up and ask them why we're not using a proven technology for health and energy. What is happening there? And ask them if they know about the problem with parasitical entities taking over people's minds, like a bad Star Trek episode. The unfortunate part of it is that it's true. So that's what you can do, and that's what you have to think. But you have to think like that yourself. If you fall into the trap of saying we need new technology to solve our problems, why? I don't need to throw out perfectly researched working technology that's inexpensive and practical for some sort of fantasy generated by some goofball who I can guarantee you is part of the intelligence community and is being paid money to express this kind of nonsense. You can guarantee it. Now, whether it's direct or indirect, how do people become popular? How do people have best-selling books? You don't do that unless somebody's behind you. This is all part of the bigger problem. They are working for big money enslavers, which ultimately is this huge, evil, satanic group of people that run this planet and manipulate everybody. It just amazes me that people, you got to get to the heart of it. You got to get to what is the cause if we're going to solve problems. So that should give you plenty to think about. Gives you direct action to do, gives you something to communicate with or to confront anybody that you do if you are one of those people. Most people aren't. So, but that's the way it is. But that's the questions that should be in your mind. That's what is going on here. And we have to really ask, what kind of insanity is it when you refuse to take a working technology and use it to solve critical problems. Until next time.